which is the architect, in a second.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can I get a motion to approve Resolution C as put forward by Deputy Supervisor Villanova?
I make the motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Hope, call the roll.
Nardi?
Yes.
Nyers?
Aye.
Villanova?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes. Okay, now we get to the architectural services
All right.
for the bathroom
Okay.
and,
So now, the architectural services, and I'm going to let Bishop start the conversation, but, you know, ultimately, you know, we have one sealed bid that has not been opened. We have a proposal here from one vendor. We did receive some correspondence, both formally and informally, that some of the people that received the bid packet and went through it, you know, were I don't want to say a little overwhelmed, but you know, we do make a lot of demands on the vendors. You know, it's a
so I
municipal
apologize.
contract.
What bid packet are we talking about now?
Yeah.
All right, we, if you'll remember, the council had agreed that we should go out and seek proposals for professional services, i.e. architectural services. All right,
For the bathrooms and,
well, this was for everything, and I thought, and that's what I was under the impression of, that if you'll remember, the original Crawford Park capital plan was about $1.1 million or $1.2 million. That included a lot of other renovations.
wait, so this RFP went out when?
This went out about a month and a half ago, maybe.
Had the walkthrough.
We set up a walkthrough. Only 2 architectural firms showed up for the walkthrough. I think there were maybe 8 or 10 architectural firms that actually got bid packages. There were more than that, okay. But in the end, only one firm actually submitted a bid. And as Deputy Supervisor Villanova had indicated, you know, we had some people had communicated back that, you know, they had issues with either the amount of work that was being done, or they felt that maybe they didn't have all of the qualifications that were required in the document. We were looking for energy efficiency. We were looking for public access compliance. We were looking for ADA compliance. We were looking for fire safety compliance. Those were the main compliance issues we wanted. Then we overlaid energy efficiency on top of that.
So, in short, I think that maybe, you know, although the bid packet was very complete, may have been a little bit too overwhelming for what we were trying to do. So, what I'm going to suggest, and what I'd like to suggest to the board, is that we look to get an architect just for the pavilion bathrooms only, get that RFP out immediately.
Yes.
We'll have Bishop contact the same vendors that we look for this master product, including the vendor that we have here. And with all respect to all the vendors, and specifically the one that did send a proposal in, and Bishop did a great job in not opening up that person's bid. So it provides very good, puts the town of Rye really in a good position, especially for that vendor.
Yep.
And I would strongly suggest that we go contact these same 4 or 5 vendors again, and just have the scope just for the
small project.
For the
just
pavilion.
for the pavilion bathrooms.
Yeah. Well, the pavilion bathrooms, but we also have to make that handicap on the outside.
Whatever comes of the bathrooms,
Okay.
it's all part of it. It's all
All right.
global.
Cool.
And I think if we can identify an architect that can put this plan together, then the next step is getting the proper vendor to do the work. You know,
Perfect.
and give us that opportunity just to control that one job.
Yes.
You know?
Okay, so
Okay.
can I then get a motion to approve that procedure as proposed by Deputy Supervisor Villanova?
I'll make a motion.
Isn't that a second?
Second.
Hope, call the roll.
Nardi?
Yes.
Nyers?
Yes.
Villanova?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes. You clear, Mr. Nowotnik?
Reasonably so, yeah.
Okay, great. That's just, I'll take that. TD Bank. What are we doing here? Who is this? Is this you, Bishop?
Oh, yeah, this is purely
It's
a
administrative, right?
administrative thing. What it is this is the resolution that's required for us to have these various accounts and to have you and Dave Burns as signers on the accounts. The problem we had is the original was 10 Pearl Street.
Right.
TD Bank is asking us to re-execute the same document with the 222 Grace Church Street address.
Okay.
And I would
can I get a
ask
motion
that-
to appro- Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Hope?
Aye.
All in favor? It's
Aye.
just administrative.
All in favor?
Actually, this doesn't remind me, I've talked about this for ages. And what, we talked about the
Yeah,
private
he's got it right.
companies that game the system with our certs. And we've also talked about, the wall of shame, but also talked about the private enterprises that are huge community outreach and supporters of the community. TD Bank is one of them. And obviously, Dom Narayan is another one of them. I wanted to just, if I could take 30 seconds, what I'd like to do, if I could, is to provide, I'd like to be able to call some of these firms up and congratulate them for their community outreach, give them a Community Good Citizen Award.
I agree.
And I'd like to, we don't have to do it tonight, but maybe circulate some nominations and amongst the board, and then just agree somebody for the next couple of months. That's okay. And then, I think we'll be able to reach consensus. I'm pretty confident.
I agree.
Okay, so that, okay? All right, great, thank you. In-Rem property, 18 Prospect. Okay, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Noto, over to
This
you.
is part of my class of 13 in-rems, and we, as you know, we took title to this property in November, filed the deed in December. The former owner obviously hadn't paid his taxes for a long time. We did actually put it out to the brokers, Rayo Brothers, and they had marketed the property, and during this time, of course, the owner realized that his property was being sold when the brokers knocked on his door and some potential purchasers knocked on his door. He got very upset, and we reached out to us and we explained the situation. And of course, back and forth with the board, we came up with a number that the board would accept to allow him to purchase the property back. We have done this in the past, as you know, at least 3 or 4 times. So he has agreed to pay us $100,000 plus $500 for the preparation of the documents. And in fact, he's going to have his attorney wire the money into my escrow shortly after you adopt this resolution. I'll prepare the deeds and pay the bills out of that. So I need your endorsement and your approval by adopting this resolution.
Okay, any questions from the board?
No, I'm just glad that he's getting his house back.
Yep, same here. I think we done him I think we did him a solid.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, the outstanding taxes are actually about $32,000, so we actually did okay here.
Excellent. Yeah, but we had a bid far superior to that.
We had a bid for $220. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're doing them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Great. Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Do I get a second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Nardi?
Yes. You.
Nyers?
Thank you.
Villanova?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Joe, will you be around? When are you going away? So I'll need you to sign some documents.
I'll be around this week.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, 99 Inwood. Now, Town Assessor Knauer. He's been waiting patiently all evening.
Good evening, Honorable
Sorry about that.
Supervisor and Council members. Yes, I have this cert that I could present.
Well, this first one, I thought
should
this one
present.
first falls in within, doesn't it?
The first one is, the refund by the Village of Portchester would be less than $1,000, so
Right.
it doesn't require their approval.
So what, okay, so we're recommending that we approve this, correct?
I would, because
no,
by
let's-
by approving it, we would save the village
All right,
having
well,
to
let's-
refund another
So
couple
let's
$100
actually,
in
let's
the next bill.
maybe just explain for everybody. So the Village of Portchester is asked that any refund incumbent on them that exceeds $1,000 be approved by their board. And as you probably know, Town Assessor Knauer and myself made the same presentation we made to this board, we made to the Village of Portchester Board on assessment department. And What we agreed basically a couple of things there. One is that we work very closely with Village Attorney Soretto, and I'm going to ask Town Attorney Noto to talk about that in a second. And we also suggested they provide a couple of liaisons to this board if they wanted to talk about, or to the assessment department, to coordinate operations. But in the meantime, they've asked that any reimbursement that be greater than $1,000 be approved by their board. So we have 3 in-rems that Town Assessor Canower is recommending we approve tonight. However, 2 don't meet the threshold, so I'm going to recommend we defer those until Portchester opines. But I'm also going to suggest that we work hard. Town Assessor Canower and myself and Town Attorney Noto will follow up with Portchester, trying to encourage him to do these on as timely a basis as possible, especially the smaller ones. So the first one falls within the $1,000 threshold. So, look, you have the figures there. Yep. The valuations are largely correct. We'd like to recommend a certiorari agreement. Does anybody have any specific questions on this?
No.
Okay, can I get approval to approve the certiorari agreement for 99 Inwood, Portchester? Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bob, you good?
Aye.
Yeah, okay, great. All right, well, we can't do these next 2, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, so Town Attorney Noto, you've reached out to Village Attorney Soretto, correct?
I have, and I think it's I know there had been some correspondence, some email traffic about this, and I wanted to sort of clarify some things. When we undertake these certiorari defenses, we fully recognize that our obligation is to defend the role, and the attorneys that I assign understand that. When we do these, the refunds, as you know, for the most part, fall onto the school districts and the villages. The refunds from the town are very small because the town tax is so tiny. Our attorneys are instructed to reach out to the village attorneys and the school district attorneys before a settlement is reached, because they need to know what the refund might be and how it will impact them. That has always been our policy since we took over in 2008, and it hasn't changed. So I do think there may have been a misunderstanding. Portchester had suggested or said at one point that they had budgeted $50,000 one year and their refunds were $150,000. I don't remember us, and Supervisor Grease, approving refunds of that magnitude over the course of 1 year, but it could have happened. In any event, the contact person for the villages and the school districts are their attorneys. So it's not, our attorneys are not going to chase down these village boards, and it is not our assessor's job necessarily to chase them down either, because she relies on the attorneys. So I think we have a system in place. There are periodic meetings held, and I know usually around budget time, the school districts and the villages will reach out to, I think, Denise, and say what's coming down the pike so we can plan ahead for some potential refunds. So I think we have a good system in place. I think it has worked. Recently, I think, there might have been some ill will, not entirely well, justified, but anyway, that happens. So going forward, we're going to continue with the system. You mentioned some liaisons. If any municipal board wants to liaison with us about certs, we're happy to do that. I do know the Village of Mamaroneck, when they abolished their assessment office, had made a point of reaching out to me and their attorney saying, please make sure you don't settle anything without talking to us. And I said, we don't do that with anybody. So, we want to keep you in the loop. So, it is on my assignees, Jeff and Aldo, to do that, and Mark Toulis. And I have instructed them, and they, for the most part, feel they've done it. So I'm not sure what happened in this one. And I did talk to Mr. Soretto and explain to him that he needs to be available, and it's his job to take these to his board. If he feels he has the authority to make the decision, he may just make the decision and talk to the village manager. But it's incumbent on him to make that happen on his end. So it's not our job to chase these people.
With regards to these 2 that we're going to defer, one of them is over that threshold, less than $500. So it's not that we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. this is, I don't want to say de minimis, but it's they're smaller amounts. And the other thing that is similar to these two that we're deferring, we had, and to quote Supervisor Carvin, people that are gaming the system. So the one that we agreed to, the petitioner made a little bit more of a fair-minded discussion here. But the values here, they're 10%. And we know that they're wrong, and it's really just going through the system the wrong way. And we're seeing it time and time again. These are it's the same holding company, and let's just see what's the address of these properties. We have 10 through 20 Olivia Street and 12 Fawcett Street, both owned by the same company. SR Holdings, and what we have here, we're not talking about the local person. We're talking about these companies, and we're gaming the system. So I agree with you, Supervisor Carvin. And we've taken the hard stand on this and taken the Village of Portchester. But
Well, I agree. I'm glad somebody else made my speech this week.
well, it's what. And I'll tell you this too, and this comes from what we've been asking year over year. Prior assessor, we would ask time and time. You have to give us background, so we can look at these
Right.
judgments, and we're educated. And Denise, you and your office are doing a great job in providing us with that information.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I want to just second that. This is terrific information. Really, exactly what we've been looking for, really, for 7 years.
Yeah.
Or until you came on board. So I think that's it. So we'll defer
Okay.
the other two, yep?
Yep, that's fine.
Did you have anything else? I won't bring you back up. I'll let you go if you want.
I
Is there
really
anything
don't
else off
have
for
anything
assessments?
else right now because we're just so.
When do you close the roll at the end of this
June
month? right?
1st.
Right.
It'll be
And
before June 1st.
when's the grievance period? From June 1?
June 1st to June 16th. June 16th is grievance day.
Okay.
Grievances will be held, hearings will be held in the Village of Portchester conference room.
Yep.
And people can just come, first serve, but they do have to fill out the forms.
Wonderful. Thanks
Okay.
so much, Assessor.
Thank you.
Gennaro. Okay, we have our summer job readiness program. We talked a little bit about this last time. I'm not sure, Greg, do you want to come up and talk about the program? We have a student here that's participated. Do you want to come and talk about the program?
That's Brian.
Brian, sorry, Brian, Brian, you want to come and talk about the program? I see Mr., you want us, I see a picture of you in here, right? You oh, you haven't seen this, okay.
I
So
participated
basically,
3 years.
the
He
thought-
spent so much time at the town of Rye, we're going to start charging him rent.
So we got the cost down to $3,000, correct? And I think that's what was we brought this up last month at the instruction of the board. We said, okay, we're spending $3,000 on flags and fireworks. It would commensurate with this. Why not spend $3,000 on a summer internship program to promote our youth? The total cost of the program is $6,000, and the other half being picked up by the private sector. And Brian, why don't you tell us what your experience was?
Well, my experience was great. I learned a lot about the town, about so many organizations. We had Portchester Dog Park. I personally worked with the League of Women Voters and the Code Enforcement Office for the Village of Portchester. It was a great experience, and I think a lot of kids got a lot out of it. I hope
And do they practice interview skills, is that
Yes.
right? They
Yeah,
teach you how
that's
to interview for a
Yeah,
job?
that's the first week of the program. It's a
Excellent.
6-week program.
And you put together your own CV,
Yeah.
and then you get interviewed by the actual
The
companies,
organizations, yeah.
the organizations themselves, and to hire you for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So that's the program. I don't know if any board members have any comments, questions?
So Brian, what are you doing now? Are you in college? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm in college. I just finished my 2nd year at Purchase, but I'm probably going to Fordham next year.
Oh, really? What happened?
I'm transferring. I got accepted, so I'm going to
Wonderful. What are you
Fordham.
studying?
Political science.
That's what I thought. Better be careful. This guy's going to be governor one day, if not president.
No thanks.
Good. And and the reason why I asked that question, Brian, is because I first met you over at LMC TV. Am I right?
Yeah.
Right. So I've seen you for many years, volunteering your time and being around the governments, and used to operate one of the cameras over
Yep.
there.
Yeah, still
And
do.
so, it's good to see Brian, and it's good to see, him go from where he was, young student, young man, now a college student going from SUNY to Fordham. And, we wish you the best, Brian. You're doing
Thank you.
a good job, and we appreciate the time that you helped us with. Thank you.
Congratulations, Brian. Thanks very
Thank you.
much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
any other questions, comments? Can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Can I get a second?
Second?
Hope, call the roll?
Nardi?
Yes.
Nyors?
Aye.
Villanova?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes. Mr. Noto, is this yours? Are you cooperating with the Village of Portchester? Is
Yes,
that what
well,
you're
this
doing?
is really for your information. It doesn't require any action on your part, but I did want to make you aware of what we've been doing with the Village of Portchester. And this comes on the heels of the agreement we recently enacted with the Village of Rye Brook, agreeing to bill their delinquent property owners who don't pay their consultant fees and fees that the village has imposed on them. The Village of Portchester, as you know, initiated a sewer fee last year, and this is based on water consumption, so it's actually a consumption fee, and the money is then used to upgrade the infrastructure. The United Water, which is a private water company, does the billing on a quarterly basis, but it is separate from the United Water bill. So evidently, because this was done through United Water, it had to go through the State Public Service Commission, which approved it. The village approached us and asked us if we would then attach to our bills once a year those who are delinquent in paying this sewer consumption fee. And it is consistent with our obligation to do the taxes for the village. And they did agree that we would be able to charge any administrative expense, to cover our costs. So
To the village or to the taxpayer?
to the taxpayer or the village, whomever we want. So essentially, this is the first year we've done this. So Nick is meeting with Leone and Chris Steers to come up with the number. So Bishop and I had a meeting with them in April, and it was a very productive meeting, I thought, and we kind of went through all of the issues. On our behalf, it was Bishop, myself, and Nick, and then for the village, it was Mr. Soretto, Mr. Steers, and Ms. Douglas, I think, and that was it, right? There was no one else.
Chris Amy, I think, was there.
Oh, their deputy
Yeah.
manager. So we had an understanding of how things should work, and we've agreed to do it. Now, we just received, this last week, the actual list of delinquent sewer rent payers, and some of them had some numbers that were shockingly low, like $1.50. So we reached out to them and said, look, there has to be some reasonable cutoff because we're not going to be leaning people for $1 on a sewer rent. So they're going to have to work through some of those kinks, let me put it that way. But anyway, it's a good thing, and we're working out with them, and I think it's a positive all around.
So they're working out the kinks?
Well, in terms of how we have the software to do this, so this is totally consistent with our tax collection operation. Nick is fine with it. The issue is, I'm not, as I said, I can't in-rem someone for $1 on a sewer tax.
No, I understand.
Sorry.
So
So they need to understand that, but it'll be on the tax.
Because you double tax then. It's a rent.
It's
a rent.
It's
It's a
a
very
user
unpopular
user
rent.
fee. Yes, but you know what? In fairness, it's actually fair because it's based on usage. I mean,
Yeah,
if
I
you
know
use
it's
more
based-
water, you should pay more money for it. I find that quite progressive,
Hey,
actually.
go talk to the people out there and see how happy they
Well,
are.
if you have you take a lot of showers, then why should I be subsidizing somebody that uses a lot of water?
Have we figured out how much this is costing the town of Rye to provide this service?
No, that's what I'm saying. Nick has to come up with the number and then bill it to the village or.
And how are we
do it.
getting the numbers currently? Is Portchester giving us?
Yes,
a
they give us the list.
electronic, paper?
I don't know.
It will be electronic.
Electronic.
Would you help Nick with that costing?
Yeah,
Yes.
just to give you an idea, the sidewalk costing for doing the same kind of thing for the sidewalk program, I think it's been less than $3,000 a year.
So how do we calculate it, though? What do you mean the sidewalk?
We bill Portchester.
Right.
No,
there's a-
sorry,
oh.
so hold on.
Yes.
How was that, why 3,000, why not 10,000, why not 1,000? How did he calculate 3,000?
Well, the agreement was at cost, so he
No,
keeps, he keeps track of his hours. He keeps track of the costs from KVS, for example, the additional cost for software programming. Those kinds of things are added in, and
All right, well,
that's it.
Nick determines the cost.
I understand,
Okay.
but I want to see it before I want to see that.
Okay.
I'd like
For
to
this.
see those
Yeah,
numbers
exactly.
as well.
Okay.
Okay, but we do this for the sidewalk program as
Right,
well.
but-
I'd like to see for all of them.
Yeah,
But
okay.
basically, they can't just, our staff is already overworked.
I'm saying, no, and
They can't, right, Hope, am I right on that?
This water process that they're going to be built, Portchester sends everybody upstairs to the
Yeah,
clerk's
no,
office,
yeah.
and they're supposed
Yeah.
to be collecting it right now. The number of phone calls and people stopping in because they don't understand it,
Did
they're
Nick
just
calculate Hope's
told-
time?
Yeah, there's no way we're getting,
No.
no.
I mean,
No,
they're
Hope, you
not,
gotta help
they
us with
weren't,
this.
yeah, there was no expectation on their part that it cost us anything. They understand that we have to be,
yeah,
so
I think
we
you're
can
gonna
charge
have to
them
have-
whatever is
Yeah, but it's going to be,
the reasonable
Another
fee to
question.
do it.
Who reconciles that our data is accurate in terms of receiving the right amount to bill the client or bill the customer, and that we've actually received it, and who reconciles that?
Meaning that the usage is accurate?
No,
That's
that we
United
get-
Water.
We get a
Oh,
file, we
Right.
have to input it into our system. Who does a reconciliation to make
First of
sure
all-
that that information is correct? And then once we get paid, and then I assume we provide some list to Portchester that says, these are the people who paid, these are the people who are delinquent, because they don't have that list.
But you
And
still
then-
guaranteed their
And who's reconciling that?
that's my whole point. You're
Are we
basically
guaranteeing-
doubling,
Yeah.
you're doubling the workload.
No. Well, first, if I could just walk you through the data that we get from Portchester is then input into the KVS system. It comes out as a line item on the tax bill. There's no additional mailing cost. There's no additional handling. It is simply a line item that now takes your tax bill, let's say, from $3,000 to $3,055
once a year.
once a year.
We do only once a year.
At that particular point, the tax payment is made, and the tax payment is handled exactly like our tax payments are handled. So there's no additional cost to handle that particular payment in that sense. In other words, if you pay the $3,055, it's handled pretty much automatically.
So then we would need to do the reconciliation and the analysis in terms of what we collected in terms of the sidewalk or the sewer system.
Yes, and Nick
then-
does that.
And provide that to Portchester.
Right. Nick does that in conjunction with Leone, who is the finance person in
And
Portchester.
Who follows up on the delinquent payers?
Portchester.
Portchester follows?
Yes.
Yeah, but it remains on the bill. Like, if they don't pay it, it just stays on your bill each year. So the point is, for the most part, people will pay it because it's part of your tax bill.
Right.
But if you have somebody who is like an In-Rem who doesn't pay their taxes, then this is going to be on that tax bill.
You know, way I feel with this, United Water is getting paid almost $250,000 a year to collect this rent money. Let them go after the people.
Well, we tried that, but the
Well-
Public Service Commission wouldn't permit it. And the other option
Why?
is...
I mean, they're the one billing, they're going
I
by the
think,
usage,
I'm
they
not
have all
sure
the information.
what the explanation was, because at the Westchester Joint Water Works, if you don't pay your water bill, we can shut off the water.
Yeah.
Because we're private, or we're quasi-private. So apparently United Water doesn't have that option. This is a different, this is not a water consumption, this is a sewer, an infrastructure charge. It's not a consumption charge. So if at Con Ed, if you don't pay your electric bill, they can shut off the power, right?
Yeah.
Same thing if you're buying water from the waterworks. If you don't pay your water bill,
Yeah,
they
they
can
should
technically
go.
shut off. They don't do it very often.
Well,
but
why
they
can't they
can.
do that? They're collecting a
Because
fee
it's not for
the
consumption
usage.
of water. It's for an infrastructure
It's
fee.
still money that's going to them that they have to
Yeah.
distribute, that they're getting paid for.
Trust me, that was the first thing we said, is why can't United Water do this? And they said they
Crazy.
can. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not saying we were like happy, thrilled that this, but I understand it's part of our job. So, but you want to figure out how Nick is calculating the cost, right, to see if we're in fact, breaking even.
I suspect that we're
Undercharging? You think? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, listen,
We're not calculating Hope's time.
With-
She spent
well, I don't know.
her time.
Why Hope is the town clerk. Why are people bothering you?
because
with
you
this?
got, I like to answer for
Ah.
you. It's because we have a common area there now, okay?
Oh.
Everybody's working together.
Okay.
So one thing probably could have been done better is that maybe the Village of Portchester could have communicated better to its residents what this charge is, what this tax is, and why it's on the town of Rye bill. The town of Rye is fielding the calls, and I agree. I'm not happy to pay it either. Okay, but that's the reason why, because we're all working
All
together.
right, so I think
First
then,
of all, it hasn't even gone on the bill.
right. These are the delinquents, by the
Village
way.
of Portchester that's responsible
Hope,
for handling
would you
these.
give us a
They're sending them upstairs.
brief weekly update on what you're experiencing? It sounds to me that it's taking up 10, 20, 15, 20, 30% of your time? How much?
Taking a lot of time.
A lot of
Also,
time.
it does not stop the people come up
Yeah,
and
you know, that's the thing,
understand it,
and
it's not explained.
Well,
Could you-
yeah, well,
could you-
certainly, you certainly have to communicate that to Nick, and I think this is
and
the
to
first year.
Portchester.
Well, this is the first year we've done this, so it's all like very new.
But it didn't even happen yet.
Yes.
This is a bill that Portchester's supposed to be collecting, and
Yeah.
they send them upstairs. This hasn't even been.
Yeah, we haven't even done this.
Right,
yet,
so
So I'm
what's
just,
happening
we're
is that,
just
like,
working out the software.
As I mentioned, that Portchester has not communicated well enough to the
Yeah,
public,
that could be.
to the
yeah.
taxpayer. So I think we should communicate in this discussion to Portchester that they need to do a better job.
I think
Maybe
the
they need to
supervisor will
invest.
have to communicate with the mayor.
Maybe they need to invest a little
And-
money.
It's a
And have
cooperative
that
efforts
section.
letter.
and send- yeah.
What?
It's a cooperative efforts letters. I'm reading it here. Cooperative
Well,
efforts.
I think that there should be a communication, I mean, like, I work with Soretto, either to the village manager, or to the mayor, from the supervisor or or bishop, to have, look, they're not looking to be difficult here, I mean.
No, okay, so look,
There are certainly some kinks that we're gonna have to work
So in
out,
a
which we knew
constructive
going
fashion,
in.
but
I
if
mean,
you could help me
Help,
make
yeah.
the case, right? So in other words, help me help you. So in other words, how much time really is, how many calls a day? Bishop, would you work with Hope to
Yep.
get, because obviously, it sounds to me you get numerous calls a day. Why don't you just keep track for 1 or 2 days? And so if you're getting 10 calls a day or 15 calls a day, people in the office
Right.
getting set up.
But we're only supposed to do the delinquents, I mean, understand,
I know, but this is what's happening. I don't
Right.
know if you're
So what exactly
understanding.
happens?
The village has been, their responsibility was to collect this bill.
right.
And starting June 1st, the town is going to collect it. It's going to be on the tax
Village
bill.
tax bill, right.
But when they come in, because they really don't understand, they go to the finance department or to the village of Portchester, and they're told to come upstairs. And this is
Okay.
relating to a bill that was not the
Right,
town's
and that shouldn't
responsibility.
happen, right, okay, so,
Right.
so that's something we need to tell
Right,
them, that-
right.
that sending,
And I think
we're collection only, we don't explain anything,
Yes.
we just collect the money.
You don't,
you know
you
what
don't
you-
want to see us.
When you
I
think about
agree,
it,
I said the same thing
that's
when I tell
kind of-
people about the in-rems, we just collect the taxes, I
Kind of
don't.
where we should,
you know.
that's where we're going with that lockbox, is that's part of helping us with this collection and try to streamline the
Right.
process with lockbox.
Right, it's not our job to explain all the taxes, we just want to collect the money, so. But, Nick, it's unfortunate Nick is not here, because he could probably explain it better, but, maybe a meeting with Nick and whoever, and me, and might be a wise move.
Good.
You, myself, maybe Bob, Billy, whatever, Bishop, me, Hope, Nick, have a little meeting
Right.
to sort of work on these numbers, because I think Bob's concern is we might be
I
undercharging
think that's
Portchester.
absolutely correct. I think Bob's absolutely
Bob's
right.
concern is spot on. And
Yeah.
if we
I mean, I wouldn't know, because I have no idea how he calculates it.
we
Or
should,
they're hidden costs in there.
we shouldn't
Trust me.
leave, we should,
Well, I mean, you're in Carvin world here, because we charge them hundreds of thousands of dollars. It'll be
The
cheaper
shoe
not
fits,
to do
like
it,
the
right?
shoe
But,
fits.
I'm not the numbers guy, so I'm happy to sit in that meeting with
we
Nick.
shouldn't,
and,
we shouldn't leave we could have some negotiation, but we shouldn't leave the decision to that group of people.
Yeah, well, I mean, just
All right.
however you
I
want to
think
do it, it's fine with me, yeah.
Okay, so we'll follow up.
But
Yep.
now you all know, based on this letter, what we're
Thank
doing,
you.
how we're doing it.
I appreciate it.
And Bishop, to his credit, was very insistent that we get a letter, because he wanted a record of this and a document that he could
Excellent.
ask me for, as he loses the copies I give him, he'll ask me for. You have that agreement with Portchester?
Now, out of curiosity,
Yeah.
this is just for the infrastructure for the sewers in Portchester?
Yes,
Is that correct?
they're the only ones that have this
Yeah.
fee.
Now,
Brybrook doesn't have this fee.
Wasn't there an effort on the part of the county to build up the infrastructure for the sewers as well?
Yeah, but we're not, you don't pay for that through the water.
That's
You're-
on the county bill.
That's on your county bill, yeah. Like that would be in your sewer tax.
They got around it by calling it a rent and not a tax, because otherwise you're double taxed.
So I don't understand, Portchester invented this tax?
Yes, this was actually a way for Portchester to generate money
Yeah.
to pay for its infrastructure. And it's done in a manner that is consumption-based, so that those who use more will pay more.
So it's increasing.
Well,
Are
there's a
you
unique.
trying to tell me
This is
that village trustee Terenzi, I hope he's watching at home tonight,
I think it was his idea.
snuck through a tax that he doesn't want to call it a tax?
Yes.
You can't call it a
This
tax.
is-
It's double
It's
tax
a-
then.
it's a
You're
user
taxed twice
fee.
for the sewer, so they had to call it
It's
something
basically
else.
a user
It's
fee.
a rent. A user fee or rent. If they called it a tax, you're double
So
taxed.
how much do they- how
couldn't
much
do
do
it
they
that
Well,
collect
way.
it
hang on,
off?
hang on. There's a unique piece here that you should understand clearly. All right, we have so many properties that are nonprofit and exempt from tax. This
Goldie.
was a way to get every parcel in the village
Okay.
to be able to pay something toward the sewer improvements. So many parcels that were not paying anything in terms of taxes were now being forced to pay for the consumption,
Do we have any-
excuse me, the usage of water.
Mr. Nowotnik, since you seem terribly familiar, would you find out exactly how much money is generated for Portchester with this effort? And I
You
think
could
our
probably call
15,
Trustee
20%
Terenzi right now and
fee,
ask him, but I think it's probably a lot.
You gotta
Because
really-
otherwise, infrastructure payments were paid out of the general fund. So it's like a toll to repair
like
roads.
us charging a tax on for Crawford Park.
Well, you know what United Water's,
You charge a fee.
United Water's getting paid almost $250,000 to collect that rent. That's what United Water collects for taking that money.
Wait a second.
They get $240,000. They get $240,000.
Because they do the
a
billing, they
year.
have to calculate the consumption.
Yeah.
Wait. they're
So if you
getting paid
use,
too
if
much.
you
Time
use
out, time out.
5,000 gallons a day, they have to calculate.
Hold on.
that.
My good friend, Mr. Nardi here, is telling me it's $240,000.
$240,000 a year they get paid for collecting our rent, the Portchester rent.
Collecting it.
To collect
I mean,
it.
calculated it.
Calculating it and collecting.
We collect it, don't we?
No, it goes
No,
to-
no.
We
They
only do
get
the
it.
delinquents. We're doing the delinquents.
So my $100,000 fee is,
I don't know. I mean,
Well
again,
within
I'm
the,
not the numbers guy here. I'm just the lawyer. But I imagine the meeting we're going to have will be very illuminating.
That's
do
why
you know that?
this is why this rent, you know.
how do you
this
know, how
rent-
do you know that? How do you know that?
He lives in Portchester.
He lives in Portchester, right?
Bottom
I
line
suspect
is-
the people in Portchester weren't thrilled with
Tom
that.
Nardi deals with water.
but- Right.
That's right.
Oh, that's right.
All right, so now this is illuminating. So we don't receive the amount of the use tax to bill. We only receive the delinquent.
Yeah, they're going to give us a list
correct.
of delinquents.
So therefore,
If they-
those
Out
people
of,
come
out
to
of the
your office-
thousands, there may only be 100 or 200
Right. We're not
delinquents.
billing
hold on.
everybody.
But those people come to your office, Hope. Send them to the waterworks.
Well, that's what I just.
Yeah, $240,000.
While you
Oh,
were
that's right.
gone, I had mentioned, why doesn't United Water and Paul
They
said-
can't.
They can't.
They
And I
can't
said,
shut off
"It's
the water."
outrageous," Because they charge, they're
they said-
getting so much
right.
money to collect this rent, and they can't go after the
And
delinquents.
there's 690
It's stupid.
Because it's not a consumption. Like I said, at the Western Joint Water Works, if you don't pay your water bill, they could shut, in the rules it says, we can shut off your water. And some,
If
you
you're
know,
not paying the rent, it should be the same excuse.
well, this is different. It's not the consumption of the water. See, United Water could shut off your water if you didn't pay your water bill, but this is a rent or,
It's a rent, but they should still fall in the same category.
they said the
You're
Public
still not
Service
paying the
Commission
bill.
wouldn't let them do that. That's, because they're regulated by the Public Service
right, well,
Commission.
why-
We are not regulated by the Public Service
Our
Commission.
fees are going way up.
I mean,
I'm sure Portchester will be thrilled to hear that, Supervisor.
You know what?
And I,
They came up with this rent,
I'd-
they should
I'm
deal
happy to
with
sit in the room when you inform the mayor of that.
I'm very happy to. Inform the mayor.
We'll see. I
This
mean,
will
I guess.
be more incentive.
They're
Anyway.
going to put more work on our staff.
Yeah, no, it's no
Well,
way.
that we understand, and Nick is supposed to be figuring that out.
You
So,
know, but again, and I don't want to belabor this anymore, but, you know, this is, it's almost like, you know, unfunded mandates from the state.
Yeah.
It's, you know,
Exactly.
the state makes a decision, hands it down, okay, deal with it.
Yeah.
In this case, you know, Portchester didn't have a discussion with us.
Yeah.
No, they did. No. In fairness, they did before they did anything. They reached out to us,
Who's us?
me, Bishop, and Nick, and said,
Well, you see-
"This is like I said, the same thing Rybrook did. They have delinquencies. It's our job. They want to put it on the tax bill." Rybrook reached out to us. We went through the agreement. We approved it. This is the same thing. They didn't just say you're doing it. They said we'd like to sit down with you and discuss it. We obviously it was part of our obligation. So it's not like we were going to say no, we'll never do it. But we certainly wanted to learn a little more about it. So that's why we had the meeting. And I thought the meeting was very productive, and it resulted in this letter. So no, it's not like it's an unfunded mandate. And by the way, it's not unfunded because they're willing to pay us to perform the service as they pay us to collect their taxes.
Let's identify.
The question is how much, and I think
that's the whole thing.
Nick was the one making that determination, and now the board
I
maybe
would-
feel you'd like to make it.
I would say that it's a good policy going forward. If we're going to discuss any fees that is going to affect the budget of the town of Rye, the town board has to weigh in on it.
Or
Yeah,
the
fine.
workflow.
The workflow, the workload.
The
Right.
workload on
Well,
it.
that would also include the sidewalk program, because Nick is billing them for that as well, you know. So I think what Councilman Iores was saying, he'd like to see all the
And
all the
what
programs.
minimum dollar amount, because you just said before that you had one that was like
Well, that's what I'm
$1.
saying. We as of today, because we just got these, May 15th, they're supposed to give us the list. So we just got the list this week, and we looked at it, and Bishop and I are, sent emails back saying, look, some of this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So.
Are there any that aren't?
No, I mean, there's some that are substantial, but I understand they're delinquents. But for $1, $2.50, I mean, we sent it back and said, well, give me a number that makes sense. And,
What minimum are you thinking of?
A couple $100. I mean, I'm not going to.
$100 at least.
Minimum. I mean,
At least.
I'm not $10. I'm not going to. We're not going to do an in-rem.
So what
for
happens?
$10.
What happens?
Well, we go. We'll go kick it back to them and work it out. I mean, we can drop it on the bill, but I'm not in-remming anybody for it. So
I think there were 14 properties that had a outstanding balance of a penny.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was-
really?
Yeah, well,
Really?
that's what we
I mean,
said.
yes.
Really, I mean, but this is something they've got to work out. I mean, they've got
Yes.
to work it out with
All right,
United
so,
Water.
so it's clear, right, okay, I think we're.
But we do.
okay.
Someone needs to follow up with the meeting with Nick. And,
All right,
and
so,
invite
Yes,
Councilman
I
Iores
have that
and-
here.
Okay, and then
Get the cost
and
from
hope
Nick.
Yeah.
and figure
But
out
nothing
how we
gets
charge.
approved until this board's seen it.
Good.
Okay.
Well, we haven't approved anything,
Okay.
So I mean, I don't.
All right.
Again, I think Nick was just billing them, right?
Yeah, Nick would.
Actually,
he's
Mr.
been doing the sidewalk
Mr.
program for a
Motor-
while.
Would you mind drafting a brief email to Mr. Soretto in response to this letter and say, this is, cause, if you could work with Hope and come up with some response that incorporates Hope's, concerns,
Yeah, I mean,
the
he's
overwork, the
right.
workload, and, we need a
Well-
fair, first of all, but I want to put the ball in their court. One, they need to come up with a solution, just you can do a quick analysis, but how many delinquent, if you count the 14 ones at a penny, how many delinquents do you have?
697.
Oh, do you have it?
Yeah, Nick submitted a
Oh.
report, 690 parcels.
690. So how many are above 100? Do we know more or less?
I don't know.
All right, but that's an Excel
there's
file
the
you can,
total.
so let's assume you have 200 above. So you need to tell them, look, you have 697,
I think you all have one.
Yeah.
690, what's the?
so 690 parcels in the amount of $267,000. But you're telling me there's probably at least over 100 parcels that are,
Easily 100 parcels that are below $100 outstanding.
right? And so we need a threshold, and then it's going to involve a lot, it's just a lot of time and effort.
It's the calls.
It's a lot of time and effort. I don't see how you can get around a lot of time and effort and just
Right.
say.
He said there are some points
Our
you
initial
finalize,
analysis,
you
our
know.
initial analysis is it's going to be considerable time and effort, and we're going to properly cost it out, and it's
Well,
going to cost
they
some
acknowledge
money.
in the letter, he says, for the rent program, the village acknowledges the town seeks cost recovery of its actual costs incurred by the town as part of the process, just as we've done through the sidewalk program. So they acknowledge that we're going to
How much
charge
do
them.
we get cost recovery for the sidewalk
I
program?
don't know.
Do we
Like I
know?
said, it's been about $3,000, but
That's
the
why I
number
said we need to
the
look
number
at all
of
of
parcels
Right.
there, the number of outstanding parcels there is relatively low.
All right, we'll take,
So
okay.
let me ask you a question here. There's 690 parcels that are delinquent with regards to this use tax. How many of those are in the In-Rem program?
No idea.
Well, I don't think we've even looked at that.
We haven't matched those up.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, remember, we only have 30 this year, so,
Right, so
You know.
it's
can't
fair
be-
to say
No.
that we're chasing
well, we're just billing them.
delinquencies to perhaps foreclose on them for this use tax?
Well, I'm saying, they would have to be 4 years delinquent, the usual process for in-rem. But again, I think for the most part, it's just going to be tacked onto the tax bill.
And
Yeah,
did
but this
anybody
is-
figure out how much that's costing the town?
This is.
No,
this-
that was the conversation you're going to have with Nick.
No,
And
but this
Nick
is
is going to figure out what it's
No,
supposed
the
to
Nick's not figuring this out.
Well,
I'm saying,
I'm
no,
just
I'm sorry.
Nice.
Right.
No, he's far too nice.
Okay, well, then we're going to have a meeting, and
So,
we're going to
Bishop,
talk
we're
about
going to
it, so-
review the sidewalk program, this
Right?
program.
Sidewalk and the water rent.
and the sewer rents.
Sewer
I
rent,
just
rather,
want to make
right.
one other point. They also say in this letter, with the exception of tax exempt properties, which would be subject to collection through the courts. and then the delinquent owner of sewer rent and penalties will be levied against these delinquent properties to be collected and enforced by the town. So if they have tax-exempt properties and they're not paying their sewer rent, they have to go to court. So it doesn't go through the town.
Right.
And it's
Well-
not until the court orders them to pay it, then we get the monies.
And they would be levied, it would be enforceable through the town, meaning they would be placed on the tax bill.
Okay.
But eventually, everything just ends up on the tax bill. So,
This will be a new chapter in your book, Mr.
But, you know, but the
well,
thing-
like I said, I think it's a new program. I think, as you know, I think people in Portchester still can't figure it out. And once everybody understands what it's all about,
I don't care. I'm going to
think,
say
you know,
it's a lousy program.
No, it may be. I mean, it's
I
not,
don't
you know,
care. It's a
I don't,
lousy
I don't get a vote on that.
There's a
So,
but there's a difference between the sidewalk program and this fee.
That's exactly right.
Sidewalk program does not affect every taxpayer in Portchester.
That's
right, right.
This
Not
fee
everybody
does.
took advantage
So-
of it. Yeah.
No, more than every taxpayer. People that aren't paying taxes are getting even more than every
Correct.
taxpayer.
So what I'm saying here is this, you know, if it's only a finite group of people that are part of the sidewalk program, and we are charging approximately $3,000 a year for a finite group of people,
Right.
then it's easy to say
Yeah.
that if we're going to service all of the parcels in Portchester with this new fee, that figure is going to be
Higher.
tenfold.
At least.
I don't
Yeah.
think,
At
but Nick
least.
hasn't come up with the number yet.
Yeah, well,
Well,
Nick,
we're going to come up with the number.
have Nick come up with the right number, if you would, please. All right, great. Town Attorney Noto, as long as I got you up on the any In-Rem news, and
No, as
Mr.
I said,
Burns,
I
do we
think
have
the
do you have our monthly, is it in here?
Yeah, I think our class of 13 is done with that latest sale. And on the class of 14,
What pages, come on
if
up.
you look
Mr.
on
Burns.
page 7, what's left over on my class of 14 are, well, 6 properties, 3 which are owned by the same owner. My motion for summary judgment, the time has passed. I'm waiting for the judge to sign the order. 614 Second Street, I think we're going to take title. That's a mess. There's like a million banks that we had to notice. 560 Westchester Avenue, I'm going to send Bishop out there. This one I can't figure out. Never got a response. Nobody has responded to me. 16 Grace Church Street, I believe they're going to pay. 342 Westchester Avenue, we settled. They don't owe it. So that's out. And then these other 3 properties, I did get a letter from the owner who said he would like to pay. So I think he may have, that's Hesico Avenue, Rockland, and Rockland. Those are also, I think, on the verge of payment, at least based on the letter I received from the owner of that company this week. So we're actually, for the class of 14, we're not too bad. We may end up with 2 houses.
Which ones do you think you might end up with?
614 Second Street and 560 Westchester Avenue. I'm going to send Bishop out because he's the only one that can get people's attention. And I'm going to send him to 560 Westchester Avenue and see if there's
16
anyone.
Grace Church Street, what's the story?
Well, they've paid partially, and they had indicated they were going to make another payment, although they're still on my list.
All right, so then we're looking
So
at.
I'll follow up with those. Like I said, I'm waiting
So we're
for
in
the
pretty good
judge.
shape.
We're in pretty good shape on the class of 14, and then in July we'll start with the class of 15. I don't know how many there will
Our
be.
receivables are still going up, huh?
Well, in the last 2 months, in March and April, we've collected a lot, not only within REM, but current collection schools. So it looked a lot worse in February and even March. So we're about 500,000 above last year at the same time. And in April, we make the schools whole. So we made about a little over $2 million to the schools whole that's still delinquent. So this is our high watermark for making the school districts
I'm
and the
just
other.
comparing the like with like, no?
Right, 4.5 to 4 million.
From 4 to 4.5.
Right, but as far as I'm saying is we've made significant progress in the last 2 months within REM and even current collections, because the number
So you
was
think-
was
so my
was
question
about
is,
over $1.2 million.
Do you think you go back to a par with last year?
If we're trending the way we're trending, we hopefully between May and June, then we should be back in line based on, and a lot has to do with there's in-rem collections and also the in-rem process work. The board, town attorney is very consistent with that process, and I think the word is getting out that look, you need to make payments on these taxes, or the town will take possession of your property and sell your property. It has to be done because we can't hold that much in taxes with our budget.
Perfect.
So,
Any questions, Mr. Burns? Any questions, Town Attorney Noto?
Nope.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Town Clerk Vespia.
I submitted my report, but
Yep.
the tax receiver did ask me to mention, if you look at his report,
Yep.
page 3, the exemption terminated bills, this is when a property is sold and they are no longer entitled, the new owner's not
Right.
entitled to exemption, so for May, he collected over $17,000.
Hope you got to bring the mic closer to the mic.
Okay, so for the month of April, rather, he collected over $17,000 in exemption terminated fees, which was good.
Oh,
And-
great.
Yeah, and it also shows you how much was collected for tax liens.
So $17,000, that's nice.
$180,000.
That almost is like tax revenue, right? That's the way they account for
Yes,
it?
that's the way.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so I told
Excellent.
Nick I would
Give him a
report
pat
that.
on the back. Tell him, is he okay? Is everybody?
He's
is
at
he-
the Old Timers Dinner tonight.
Oh, okay. Tell him
Right.
well, thank you, Honorable Mr. Mecca. When you watch this, tell him on the videotape. Crawford Park, Bishop?
I think we've
So we
said enough
covered
about
Crawford
Park.
Okay, the Superintendent of Highways has submitted his report.
Okay, I
yep.
got some concerns on this.
Yep.
Number one, I hope that John is doing well. We haven't seen him in.
I think he's in Arizona, so he's probably doing pretty well.
Well, while I grant him that, it's important that we all realize that as an elected official, your responsibility
Yep.
is to be at the meeting.
Absolutely.
So in that sense, I'm a little disappointed. You can't mail it in. We
Yep.
can't do that. That being said, we need to, I think, I don't know, I guess from the supervisor's office, we're going to need to correspond with Autumn and Kirby regarding the South Barry Avenue Bridge immediately. Because if this report is correct, they're talking about, getting proposals 30 to 60 days out on the South Barry Avenue Bridge. It's going to bring us into August before, our problem we had last year is that we went into the winter months. We couldn't get it done.
Yep.
So now the process that should have been completed last year is now going into a 2-year process. And maybe we need to take this out of someone's hand or put it in somebody else's wheelhouse, because this is becoming problematic for me. I don't know if it's becoming problematic for the rest of the board, but I got a big concern here.
Well, should we bring him to the next meeting? Should we invite him to the next meeting?
Yeah.
Do you want me to reach out to Tom Onman?
Yes.
Yes.
I have his number. I'll reach out to him
Oh,
tomorrow.
great.
I'll give him
Yeah.
a call tomorrow.
And would you ask him to come to the next town meeting
Is
as
that
well?
next town meeting? Okay.
Thank
So
you.
we're worrying about the South
Yeah.
Berry,
Yeah,
This is,
over Otter Creek?
yeah. Southbury, yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
Okay, so let me put it, I'll call him tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
I have
Mr.
time
Richard.
tomorrow to do it, so.
the only concern. And then obviously we got some forecasting going on with bridge work in Mamaroneck, but I'm sure that Village of Mamaroneck will keep us posted.
Excellent. Okay. And Town Clerk Vespia, did you?
Yes, can I just mention something? Recently, there's been a lot of inquiries as far as genealogy and also birth death
right,
records. Mr. Nardi stopped by the other day, and I showed him this book that I've been bringing out, and also a dual citizenship for some reason. Well, as the record keeper, it's my responsibility to make sure that these records are possibly restored and kept, because they're valuable and they're permanent. And I'm going to start looking into getting some of them bound, or because I
Perfect.
feel it's my
Great. No, please, yeah.
responsibility.
Great.
And submit some proposals, but
Wonderful.
I just want to be creative as well as maybe having, like, adopt a book or something with the Historical Society, because these are
Excellent.
unbelievable.
They date back,
Yeah,
like to the
no,
1700s, and the one book that she showed me, the binding's totally off on
Yeah,
it.
it has.
And she's
old
always
tape.
going in the archives for stuff. There's about 4 books that are really in sad shape.
Well,
that
why
need
don't we
to be done.
just come up with an estimate, and we'll approve it next month, because you're absolutely right.
At least do 1 or 2 of the books.
Yeah.
Well, that
Did
one
we,
that you showed me.
microfiche or electronically store any of the information?
Some of these can't even be done. They're loose.
Yeah.
It's been like that for a
I mean,
while, and I feel that it's time to.
They are so old, and I think some of them were probably done with a quill, you know? That's how old
They
are.
were.
Yeah. And
It
they-
just so happens, this old
the
book,
one,
I had
the
so
one
many
from the
inquiries about
the
it.
turn of the century, the
It
turn of the
was-
1900s, there's no binding to it, basically. And they're gonna get damaged. And there were 3 others that were starting to get to that shape that I had seen.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is fundamental that we keep, you know,
have, yeah.
1660, the town of Rye, 1660.
Right, right.
So it's a treasure trove. So absolutely anything you need, anything you need.
Okay.
I agree, but I think that we don't want to act in haste. So before we go further, or let's say simultaneously,
Right.
we have staff that's working at the town offices. We have Bishop, we have Greg Arcaro, and we have Dave Thomas. Get all three of them on the case with grant writing, because there are grants that are out there for historic records. We've had the grants in the past, where there would be zero impact to the taxpayers, zero impact to the town of Rye.
All right, I did discuss this with Linda Boldo, and grants are pretty scarce lately.
You know what? They
So-
may be scarce, but at least I would rather know that we sent out 5 grant applications and were rejected
Yeah.
on all 5, then we're acting in good
I agree,
faith.
I agree. I mean, if we, you know, they've been bad this long, if we wait a little longer, it's not gonna really,
I
you know.
know.
But they do have to be done.
They have to be
So if we
done,
can
and
get
it's-
if we can get the grant money, it's better for us,
Right, okay,
okay?
Well,
I'll look into
put
that.
together a budget and, yeah, and that's
Okay.
it. Fantastic.
Right. I
Thank
wouldn't
you.
do anything without,
Yeah,
you
coming
know,
back
I'm
here,
gonna get
right.
proposals, and also, I just want you to see the condition of these.
Yep.
We should have brought one.
I was
If
gonna
you're
bring one
allowed
You
to.
know,
tonight,
you
but
take,
I
a-
think-
take it, these days, take a photo and, you know, make it,
Right,
or
right.
Bishop will
Oh,
help
I
you.
think you have to see it in person.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I will. And that's it. from me.
Wonderful. Okay, Councilman Nardi, any comments?
No, I think I said enough tonight.
Councilman Yours?
I just have one additional comment with regards to Crawford Park. First of all, I'm pleased that we're moving forward on the capital improvements there. But one of the things that did come up is there are 2 pianos, you know, one downstairs and one upstairs. And I went to play them, and I'm not a pianist by any stretch of the imagination, and they were horribly tuned, or shall I say, out of tune. And from what I understand, they need to be tuned typically twice a year. And I've looked around at some prices. I have someone that can tune it for about $150. And that's all, and that would be twice a year for 2 pianos. So that would be essentially $600 a year. So I'm wondering, I don't know if there's a maintenance item or a line item or budget item that we have for that, but we were gifted one of those pianos, but,
Right.
you know, but we need to tune it, and it needs to stay tuned, otherwise it's just collecting.
Now we
dust.
found a rationale for the second floor. We could make it the music floor.
Well, we have the upright piano was moved to the second floor. The baby grand is down on the first floor. The general agreement that we have with the 2, what I would call music groups that use the facility, was that they would handle the tuning, that we would not, and they could then use the pianos as they see fit. So we have the village singers are in there every Tuesday night.
And I was just about to say that,
And,
Bishop.
okay,
They're being used so much that if they were that bad, they would take care of it. So I want to take the money that we save from tuning and get Bob's ears checked.
he can do it. He can do it for free. Miracle Ear is having a sale.
So, all right, Bishop, would you follow up with them, see one, find out when the last time
Sure,
they tuned it then?
sure.
Last time they tuned it, because it's a good comment, and we should.
Yeah, and the theater arts group, the summer theater arts
Yeah.
group, uses it as well, and you know, one or the other group takes
Ought to
care
be-
of that.
All right, let's find out when the last
Maybe
time
it's
we got
just the
some.
one upstairs. I didn't actually play the grand piano, I played the one upstairs.
Oh, okay.
Excellent. Oh, anything else, Councilman Yours?
Nothing.
Thank you. Deputy Supervisor Villanova?
I just want to obviously encourage everybody to attend the Memorial Day event. And obviously, I'll speak on behalf of the town that day, and prior to that event, I'll be at a service out at Calverton National Cemetery with the New York City Commissioner of Veterans Affairs, Brigadier General Laurie Sutton. And I hope to bring some of her flavor to our service here in Portchester, our ceremony. And that's all.
Thank you. I'm with Councilman Nardi. I think I've said enough for this evening. So with that, can I get a motion to bring the meeting to a close?
So moved.
Second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.